Welcome back to another edition of the Santita Jackson Show. I want you to reach out to me on Facebook. Talk to me about this show on the Santita Jackson fan page because I want to hear from you. I want to interact from you. I want to get your feedback. We need to know what is going on. On this show, we seek not to conform to the world. We seek to overcome it and transform it one conversation at a time. Look, let me go right here. On my Facebook, so many of you have joined me there on the fan page, and it's been a wonderful experience because I post these stories and you kind of let me know what you're feeling, what you're thinking. And a story that I posted a couple of weeks ago made you go crazy. You just went crazy. You were talking about Will Smith and his son. Does he want to be emancipated from his family? Thousands upon thousands of you responded to that. And you said, oh my gosh, what is the world coming to? Will Smith comes from a military father. He said, look, I give my children the options to make their own decisions. So let's talk with you. Wow. That's right, Joseph.
Yeah.
Harley. And your organization is?
Friends of Fathers.
And you are a?
And we're a men's life coach, principal life coach I am.
Okay, and you're really helping fathers to be fathers. And of course, we've got Brandon Mays, 25-year-old father. You fought to become the custodial parent of your 7-year-old son.
Yes, ma'am.
After finding out that through the mail that you actually were a father.
Yes, ma'am.
Bless your heart. When you hear this story, I mean, this young man, Jaden Smith, and of course, they went on Ellen DeGeneres' show, and they said, you know, this is not true. He doesn't want to be emancipated. But Will Smith said, you know what, his father is the biggest movie star in the world, and he's trying to find his place. I get it. And plus, he's making a lot of money himself. Sure. You know, both of these kids are making a lot of money. But he said, no, that's not going to happen. But, you know, it was interesting to see the conversation that was aroused by the prospect of this 15-year-old emancipating himself.
Sure.
The thought of it. I mean, what did you think? I mean, because when you saw the headline, I saw you go.
Yeah.
What was your reaction?
I'm thinking about how many fathers that I fight for or coach them on being involved in their children's lives, and so many children that are without fathers. I mean, we have basically 1 out of every 3 children that don't happen to have an absent father. 26 million children. That's almost a country by itself.
26 million children. Where?
And that's according that throughout the United States. And
26 million children don't what?
Don't have an absent father, a father that's not involved in their children's lives, absent from their home, no structure, no guidance from a father. And here we have a child that has the ability to emancipate themselves from the parenthood, probably because of money or fame or control or some type of glamorous issue. But what's going to happen to our family structure? Some children that probably don't like their mother or their father will use that same rule, that same law.
Emancipation.
Yeah, to emancipate themselves from their family, from their parents. How can we continue to evolve into this such a different way of living, not the way we should have lived, the way God created us?
Making money now, therefore, gives you that freedom. But, you know, you see that with when children make more money than the parents, which clearly this young man is not doing.
Not yet.
Because not yet. But when children when that power balance is off, a lot of things change. Or when children, you know, I guess when they feel themselves, right? Because, hey, I can do this. All I have to do is pay the bills, and they have no idea what being an adult is about. Now, you're a young father. He is... Well, okay, he's about 5 years younger than we are, right?
Yeah,
okay.
Sounds good.
What'd you say? Sounds good?
Sounds good.
That's right, with our different color hair. When you see this headline, what do you think? Would you be ready to let your son go? If he came to you and said in 8 years that he wanted to be emancipated, you can't even...
Absolutely not.
He didn't say divorced from his parents. He said emancipated, which means getting your own house, really just being an adult.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't feel that way. Only for the simple fact that, as he stated, it's more of a money issue. You know, he's making money, he has money, so he feels like, well, maybe he can be on his own and he can support himself in certain aspects. But in the real world and in real life, you know, it comes along money, responsibilities, bills, and different things like that. And then what about education? you know, finishing school, college, you know, different things like that. And really, really, really embracing him at that age during his adolescence, to show him, you know, how to be a man.
What about the nurturing part of that?
Yeah.
I mean, what do you mean the nurturing part?
I mean, for a child and a parent, what happens to that relationship?
Mm-hmm.
Now I'm emancipated. I don't have to listen to you. I mean, that's a teenager's dream. For one, don't have to listen to their parent.
And you know, and to be fair to Will Smith, he did say, "This is like a child's dream."
Sure, child's dream.
What?
Exactly, a child's dream. So therefore, what a child has that they need is what a parent. Yes, a child's dream. He's dreaming. What about basically parenting that child? The emotions that he's going to go through, he can't pay for that.
But Joseph, let me take this back to this staggering number, 26 million children.
Yes.
And the social impact that that's having on us now.
Sure.
Because you're having children who, if the father is that absent, that far away, we're seeing a lot of women struggle too.
Oh, by all means.
So unlike what our parents saw, or even maybe your parents, they saw parents, you might have had, the father might not have been there for one reason or another. But now we have a generation of kids who don't have any parents.
Nothing. No,
they don't have the mom, because look, when we were growing up,
right,
you did not call a woman out of her name, and you
right.
certainly didn't do it on a record.
Because your daddy gonna take care of it when he gets home.
Okay.
Or when you're time to visit with your parents, because I'm, you know, a divorced child as well, but I have respect for my father, knowing that he can come at any day or any time.
And he would?
And he did. In third grade, my dad came there because I was acting up and took care of me right in front of the classroom. You don't have that kind of that kind of authority anymore as a parent. Literally gave me a whooping right there, so therefore I remembered it. I'm 47 years old, remembering it today.
Well, see, I'm not that old.
Wow.
Well, but all jokes aside, do you think that parenting, do you think we're too free now?
Yeah, we're too free in a sense, because when, like for instance, the statistics has proven with the U.S.
Wait a minute, let me say, I'm not a parent. I don't want to start any rumors. But I mean, do you think parenting is just too free form now? Do you think children are given too much room?
I think in this day and age, we have a lot of working parents. We have, you know, a lot of time is being spent away from home. And because a lot of kids are in single family homes where mom may be working 40 plus hours a week, and then we have an absentee dad, you know, children to a degree are raising themselves. They're cooking for themselves. They're doing their own homework. They're doing a lot of different things. So because they are doing those things and the parent is kind of away, they feel kind of like, you know, that they can handle it, or that they can do it, and that they can raise themselves, and that's absolutely positively not the
But you know what I'm not getting? I'm the eldest, and even though my parents were very present, even though their lives were very busy, they also had another layer of people in between who helped them keep our family going. People who helped to raise us. But even with that, I was responsible for setting a pace for my brothers and my sister. You know,
I'm an elder as well.
So it's like, whoa, hold it. I don't care who's babysitting. I don't care who's around. If your baby sister falls as a toddler, that's on you.
That's on me.
So it puts you on point. And so, I mean, it's because your parents can't do it alone.
Sure.
So even though these parents are working and all of that, I mean, to me, there's something else going on here. Because, see, we remember when the Bill Cosby Show came on. And what a moment that was. I was talking with my producer, Sylvia, about this, and how I was in school at the time. The dorm, everybody, we were studying downstairs. And you know what happened? Because you got all of this publicity about the Bill Cosby Show, and I don't know what it was. Reverend had just finished running for president. We had had our first black Miss America. In fact, we were having our second because Vanessa Williams, unfortunately, had to resign. You sent a black man to space. 1983-84 was a huge time for black Americans and for America. And so the Bill Cosby Show came on. Everybody at Howard University was silent, really. And as soon as the show ended, it can make me cry. You heard the whole dormitory erupt in applause. And we all ran out into the hall. And you want to know why? Because we saw a father and a mother who controlled the house. In the 70s, the children controlled the house. And it was something I know you and I did not recognize.
You know, with that type of a show, we looked at that to mirror ourselves and grade ourselves within our own family
and it had nothing to do
structure.
with money.
Correct, and it never did. And just like you mentioned, if a child would hurt themselves during my watch, so to speak, when I'm watching them, that gave me the ability to nurture other children.
Yeah.
So if something was to happen, just like today, this topic here, something was to happen to someone that is outside of my family structure, I had a moral obligation to want to help that particular person. We won't have that because he'll never get something like that, or children that emancipate themselves from their parent will never get that nurturing part of being responsible for a human.
Well, do you think that I mean, and I'm not picking on Will Smith because I don't know, from what I can see, he and his wife are working very hard to create the healthiest environment for their family that they can, and you've got to respect that. But, you know, I think that these are teachable moments for all of us.
Yeah.
Do you think, not just him, because I know in my own life, I have some friends who were emancipated from their families, but their families had high rates of dysfunction.
No.
So they had to leave, and they've all gone on, each one of these persons, to become very successful adults. But they said, you know, if I had not left my parents' home, I wouldn't have survived.
Sure. And
he's just in Hollywood enjoying it seems, you know?
Right. And everyone's life is not like that to be in that position to emancipate. Again, you know, there are some parents that children that probably don't need to be part of their family structure because of the abuse that they've taken, whether it's inside of the home or directly to them. We do need some help for those particular children. But I think this is an isolated situation they are using to advertise and market. And unfortunately, those kind of things bite us.
The movie?
Oh, no, the emancipation portion, in reference to Will Smith and Jay and his son. For that to happen, we know we're watching Will Smith and his family. I mean, the world is watching. So therefore, we're going to be emulating them because they're leading us out. And that's an advertising thing. Unfortunately, we should be concentrating on how to raise our children, keep them wanting to be part of a family structure. Because whether you know it or not, when those children are not loved in their family, they'll find it elsewhere. They'll find it inside of a gang, or they'll find it into a situation where it can be someone just prowling about drinking or drugs. Something can happen with that.
Do you think that even though this particular issue got a lot of publicity, I mean, a lot of our children are self-emancipating.
Right.
When you think about it, because the structure, our family structure is just
disorganized. It's totally dysfunctional.
Now that you say that, I mean, I was one of those kids that kind of self-emancipated at 16 years old because I grew up in a household where my mom had a really good foundation and a base. But my stepfather was abusive, mentally abusive, and also abused alcohol, and it put me in a predicament and situation where I really had abandonment issues because my real father wasn't there, and then also having the issues of dealing with abuse in the home. And for me, I was very blessed to be able to remove myself from that situation and be able to use that situation as something that is positive in my life, to be the father that I am to my son, to mentor other people, and to, just show God's love, regardless to what I've been through in my situations, because what they say, what doesn't kill you only makes you stronger.
But how did you not become bitter? Because I'm really, and I'm very interested in the two of you.
I couldn't allow myself
working together because this is such a wonderful young man.
Yeah, he is.
I couldn't allow myself to get bitter, because when you hold on to that bitter and you don't allow yourself to forgive yourself and forgive other people, you really, really, really harbor that ill will, and you go through life having wishes, shoulda, coulda, wouldas, and you can't allow yourself to focus on what God has for you in the future when you're so busy worrying about what has happened to you in the past.
But when you see your father, do you think it made you have more compassion for your birth father? I mean, what was it? Work that out for me.
I'm sorry, what did you say?
I mean, do you because you're not bitter, do you see your father do you see him more compassionately? Now that because you became a surprise father, right?
Yeah. I don't have a relationship with my father,
Do you ever want to?
I wanted to, and I reached out to my father a couple of times because I have a lot of other siblings that I wanted to have a relationship with. At the end of the day, it didn't work out like that. And And I'm thankful to God because everything happens for a reason. Sometimes it's better that the parent is not there because, you know, maybe you won't have to deal with abandonment issues or, you know, someone that's doing something to you, you know, that will get you in a worse situation than them just not being there at all. So when I think of my father, I have love for my father because he brought me here. I have love for my father because, you know, he's a person and I'm a Christian, and that's just how I feel. But, you know, no relationship.
But when you hear Shaquille O'Neal's song, Biological Didn't Bother, remember that song that he wrote about his father?
Okay. No.
Well, his father was not present in his life as well. He was raised by his stepfather. And in his rap career, he wrote a song entitled Biological Didn't Bother. He was talking about his father. And I remember my father said, you know, I need to get to him because that's not the right approach. I mean, because my father said to me, you know, you don't understand the abandonment that I felt because I never spent one night under a roof with my father. And my father is 71. And I see how devastating that is for him today,
Yes.
right now.
I see it every day. Every day, with fathers who come in and basically are calling me on the phone. They just had a relationship that broken up. Now the child is 6 months old and was involved with the father, but now the mother is putting them through child support and also standing there to say that they want sole custody of that child. How do women, or even I will say society, speaking from a man that goes through this, we look at like the court system. You're pulling those children out of my lives. And people think that men do not feel that pain. We feel that pain. When that divorce occurs or that separation occurs, we don't have any say-so about that child, and then you keep them away from me. Now you will continue to have that child grow up in a society where the father's not involved with abusing alcohol or drugs, early teenage pregnancy, and also drop out of high school or not even finishing education, because the father's not involved. So it really does hurt. Speaking as for a lot of fathers out there in the society, it hurts when those children are pulled away from us. It's worse than any woman relationship. It's worse than not having any money. When you know that that child is crying for you, and I've had many fathers, 60 years old, have cried. And just past weekend, who stated that now he's married, the 15-year-old comes over once in a while. She sits in his lap. She is acting like she's a toddler because she's missing the affection of her father. Those are the devastating things that's happening when you isolate that father or put that child out there and let them go on without having that parent involved.
But I see Brandon shaking his head vigorously.
Yeah.
Well, what resonated with you?
What resonated with me is that sort of kind of happened to me. My son's mother thought that it would be okay. He had been living with me for about 4 to 5 years, and she decided that when I allow him to go visit with her, that she was going to keep him and that she wasn't going to return him, and cut off communication between us. And my son thought that I had died.
Well, no, how did he think you had died? Had he been told you had died?
Yeah.
Who told him you died?
His mother. So, you know, for me, that was the worst.
So he didn't, because your son, you said your son knows the home number. So he didn't call. Did you think, so you thought that was strange, didn't you?
Well, I thought it was very strange, but not only did I think it was strange, I knew better. I knew that she was preventing him from contacting me because of previous conversations that we had had, you know, after I contacted her about her, you know, returning my son back. And the whole thing about it is that what got me going was the fact that, you know, me, my mom, and the family was all that, you know, my son knew, you know, for the most part. And for him to be torn away from that and torn away from me and no type of contact and different things like that. And just because she thought it would be okay, because generally in the system, that's how it works, you know, if because the mother has the kids, you know, well, if I decide that you don't have any contact or you don't have a relationship with me, or if you don't pay your child support on time, then I'm not going to allow you to see the child. And all of these different games and antics are being played. And at the end of the day, it's the child who's suffering, you know.
Well, then let me ask you this. Let's flip this, because we do, you know, I defend daddies, you know I do. But there are some fathers who really are not well behaved.
Oh, by all means.
Oh, yeah.
And they're not well intentioned.
Oh, yeah.
They don't pay their child support. And they use their children to play a lot of games to hurt the mother.
Okay. Well, I don't see that as much. I kind of see that the mother uses the children against
I've
the
seen that,
father.
but I'm just saying,
Yeah.
how do you counsel
Yeah.
these men who won't do right?
Yeah, well, the key thing is basically trying to educate them on what they should do based on what it's supposed to be.
But is education the key? Because that to me sounds like a soul
Oh, it sure
soul
does.
problem.
Yeah, well, you can change the word inform or something because the fathers do not know. They just don't know in reference to financially how to be involved with their children, trying to pay a bill that they cannot afford. So that's the major
So
issue.
their manhood is attacked.
So the manhood is attacked because if you go to work and they take 50% of your income and 22% in taxes, leaving you $25 on every $100, then all of a sudden you're thinking, well, you know what, man, I'm going to go back out in the street. I'll go in the street, therefore no money's going to be taken away from me, and catch me if you can in front of the court. Now, let's go back to the child. Now I can go and talk to my child, give him some money, buy him some tennis shoes. But again, the mother says, no, you cannot be involved with the child. But the father just needs to take the responsibility and think to himself before he goes out there into the world, how am I going to parent my child? Meaning that, what is my parenting plan? Can I actually create a parenting plan whereas my children, I can see them without my new girlfriend? Because most likely that woman is not going to be around for a while.
Hold up. Can you date? I mean, you are 25. You're a handsome young man. You're 25. The full flowering of his youth.
Right.
Do you date?
Yeah, I try to date, you know, at times. I guess at this point in my life, my focus is getting myself together and getting my child together. There are a lot of things that I want to do. I have a nonprofit that I'm starting up called AIDS Prevention Network, reaching out to, you know, people, the affected and infected, you know, dealing with HIV. I have a lot of different things that I have my hands in, a lot of different pots and things that I'm trying to get going.
So are you
and
are you open to a relationship, Brandon?
Yeah. I'm open to a relationship, most definitely. But at the same time, though, my priority and my focus at this point is getting myself together the way that I would like, and being the best parent that I can be to my child. Because a lot of times people get into relationships and they meet people and they court with people, and then you try to bring the child into the equation.
Well, how do you date with a little child, with a little boy? How do you do that?
Well, I mean, it starts with, first of all, finding people.
Do you introduce her on the front side or on the back side or somewhere in the middle?
Right off the bat, anybody that I'm talking to knows that I have a son. Not only do I have a son, but my son lives with me, and I'm taking care of him. So anybody that I'm talking to most definitely has to have a decent background, you know, someone that's going to be respectful, somebody who likes kids, somebody that embraces kids, and someone that my son would be able to also embrace and love. And from then, I could kind of gauge where I could see things going.
That's so important because, again, when I was single with my two daughters, the women did not see the child, my girls. They did not. They always wanted to say, let me see the pretty girls, dog. No, they don't need to see them because I'm trying to develop a relationship with you so that we can build a relationship, but you know that I do have children. And
Well,
yes,
when
I
did you
pay my
bring
child
her?
support.
When did you bring?
It was actually 6 months later. 6 months, and she saw them sleeping at that particular time in my bed, and it's like, here, yeah, those are my girls. And then we introduced them on the playground, not in my house, because
Why not?
Because that woman was not part of raising my children. So therefore, she didn't need to be in my house looking at being a mother to my children. So we need to be some friends. She had children too, so they played together and they learned to do some things out there on the barbecue, in the park, and things like that. We did events together. And then for a little period of time, we didn't go to each other's house with our children. We stayed in the public because I wanted to make sure that relationship worked. And plus the mother of my children were involved with our relationship as parenting. So we didn't allow too many of the outside relationships to be in front of our children.
So, I mean, is there ever any space? I mean, because you're married again, clearly.
Yeah.
So, how do you open that up?
Yeah, actually, again, you know,
See, I'm going to have to bring my producer on the next time because she has had experience. Sylvia has had experience with this, and she, you know, she's a great counselor on the woman's side. You know, about how you bring
the men.
a man in, or how you bring a woman in when you've got children who you're trying to protect, but you need to see
how they were going to connect and things of that sort. So you gradually do that. And it did take us some time. When we did it through church, we did it through the activities, and then we started watching some videos together, you know, family-oriented video with her children. It was a scary kind of a thing, you know. You had these, I had 2, she had 3 children. I mean, wow, we had a Brady Bunch, and all of a sudden we started blending.
You know that
together.
song was playing in my head.
Yeah, I know you were.
Come on now.
So it was very, very challenging and scary because, you know, the kids, they're afraid. You know, you got this woman and this guy. I'm trying to look like I'm a better father to the boys at that time in their mother's eyes. In their mother's eyes, not necessarily in the boys' eyes, because they had their dad and I didn't disrespect that. So it's a lot of different turmoils and steps you have to take to blend that family together.
Oh, so you're going to help this young man?
By all means. I really am going to learn from him.
Absolutely.
Because there's some things that he can actually teach other men who have a desire to have custodial rights over their children, to be involved. One of the key questions I had for him is like, well, how do you keep yourself from dating? Because he's so busy, but there are some guys that are not that busy.
Yeah.
Well, you know what? I tell you this, as I listen to the two of you, it makes me think of this biblical verse. Seek ye first the kingdom of God and all of his righteousness,
Yes.
and then all shall be added unto you. You got to put things decently, keep them decent, and keep them in order. God is not the author of confusion.
Yes.
God only knows order. Keep that in mind as you bring your children up, as you bring other relationships into your life, because you deserve love, 360 degrees of love. It's very important. So please, I want to hear from you about this show. Brandon Mays, I just adore you. Joseph Farley.
Thank you. Thank you
Oh,
for the
I just think
opportunity.
that you all are magnificent men, and I'm so glad that God gave us the opportunity to share with you today so that people could know that men like you exist. Contact me on the Santita Jackson Facebook page. I want to hear from you, and let's celebrate these glorious men. I love you. Until next week.
Thanks for watching this edition of the Santita Jackson Show.